Enlightenment. You know, the word itself just shines, doesn't it? It makes you think of reason, progress, humanity finally stepping out of the dark. It's pretty much the foundation of our modern world. But what if? What if that brilliant light was casting a very long, very dark shadow, right from the very beginning?
Okay, so let's dive right into this. We're going to unpack a really powerful critique of the Enlightenment from the late Egyptian thinker al-Wahhab al-Messiri. And we're going to break his argument down into 5 clear stages, starting with its famous promise and ending with what he saw as its unsettling hidden core. So first things first, let's get on the same page. When we talk about the Enlightenment, what are we actually talking about? For most of us, it's an idea we see in a really positive, almost universally accepted light. Right, so this is the textbook definition. It's all about optimism, the incredible power of the human mind to figure things out, to solve problems, and to march forward into a better, brighter future. It's about having the guts to use your own reason. Sounds perfect, doesn't it? I mean, who could possibly argue with that? Well, this is where al-Messiri comes in. He argued that this noble, simple definition is, it's dangerously simple. He believes it completely papers over these deep, troubling contradictions that were baked into the idea from day one, and that really, we can't understand the world we live in now without facing them. Al-Messiri's first critique is honestly fascinating. He says that when the whole idea of enlightenment got picked up in Arab intellectual circles, it was just ripped from its original history. And this created a kind of, an intellectual mismatch. And here's how he illustrates it. Look, in the West, the Age of Light was a direct response to its own dark ages. It was a specific solution for a specific historical problem. But al-Messiri then asks the killer question: does that timeline make any sense for other cultures? The same period that was dark in Europe was the golden age of the Abbasid Caliphate. So to borrow the solution when you never had the same problem, that just doesn't add up. And this is the brilliant part. He takes the Enlightenment's most cherished value, reason, and turns it right back on its followers. He found it totally ironic that thinkers would just blindly copy a philosophy that's all about not thinking blindly. To him, this wasn't reason at all. It was just imitation. So this leads al-Messiri to the real million-dollar question. Okay, what were the actual results? If the ideals of pure reason and progress were so flawless, what did they actually create back in the West, where they started and had free reign? From his point of view, what came next wasn't exactly a utopia. He points straight to the 19th century, with its incredibly brutal imperialism and the scientific racism invented to justify it. And then came the 20th century, with the unimaginable carnage of 2 world wars and the rise of totalitarian states. For al-Messiri, these weren't some unfortunate detours from the path of progress. He saw them as its dark but logical endpoint. And the end result, in his view, wasn't a world filled with happy, rational people. It was a world of alienation, of pollution, of deep existential dread. The new symbol for humanity became the wasteland, and the tragic figure of Sisyphus, the guy doomed to push a boulder up a hill forever for no reason at all. This, he says, isn't progress. It's a profound spiritual crisis. Okay, let's get to the philosophical heart of it, because this is where the argument really clicks. For al-Messiri, all those dark outcomes, they weren't an accident. He argues they came from a fundamental, self-destructing contradiction buried deep inside Enlightenment thought. Here's the clash. On the one hand, the Enlightenment says, hooray for the human mind, it's this powerful, active, creative thing that can shape the world. But then on the other hand, its materialist worldview says, well, actually, humans and their minds are just matter. We're just passive blobs of stuff controlled by the blind physical laws of nature. You see the problem? Your thoughts become just chemical reactions, as unfree as a rock rolling down a hill. And here's the kicker. Al-Messiri says you just can't have 2 centers of the universe. In a world that is purely material, nature is always going to win that fight. The human, who was supposed to be the new star of the show, inevitably gets demoted, crushed, and just absorbed back into this big, impersonal, material machine. The whole idea of humanity being special, it just dissolves. So this internal contradiction, this philosophical time bomb, leads directly to al-Messiri's final and, frankly, most provocative thesis. He argues that there was always a dark enlightenment hidden inside the luminous one, just waiting for its chance to come out.
He calls it the liquidation of the human, and he lays it out in three, frankly, devastating steps. Step 1, you get rid of God and put the human at the center of everything. Step 2, you define that central human as nothing more than physical matter. And step 3, the inevitable conclusion. That supposedly special human gets completely dissolved into meaningless, material nature, losing everything that made them unique in the first place. And this leads us to his staggering conclusion. The dehumanizing, destructive parts of our modern world weren't a failure of the Enlightenment. No, they were its ultimate hidden success. The darkness was always there, latent in the light, part of the very same philosophical DNA.
So that's what we're left with. A really challenging thought to take away from this explainer. It forces us to look again at the ideas that built the world we live in and ask a tough question. Were the problems we see all around us today just unfortunate accidents on the road to progress? Or were they the predictable result of seeds that were planted centuries ago?